since I've been doing this writing, I have been checking out what was the moon during this time when I was writing it or that week, just to confirm that it is an impact for, like, the moon has significance for my journey. Um, and yeah, so
Mm,
the skies have I've always just been in love with the night skies and the pre-dawn sky, like the first morning skies. I love
mhm.
it. We used to camp as kids out, out where parents, we used to always go out to campsites. And so I just had this appreciation for that blue sky and the
Yeah,
star. And
yeah.
so, yeah. So,
And that's a good thing when you know that. Like, I've always found myself to be very connected to nature.
mhm.
But when I was younger, it kind of embarrassed me, if you can imagine. Because who does that? I mean, who goes into nature, who goes out there and actually says stuff like, man, I can hear them talking to me. And it's not like most people would hear, like they talk about in like an audible sound. It's more like it's like they talk.
Yeah, my grandmother used to talk to birds, so it didn't seem odd to me.
Okay.
Yeah, so that didn't seem, and then my family from Twiggs County, Georgia,
Okay.
gardening and farming and nature has just been is a part of my DNA. Thank goodness my grandfather brought it up here with him. And so I've always been in dirt, always had a garden,
Yeah.
always planting flowers. And then and like I said, my grandmother would always talk to bird, like literally have this dialogue. And she would always say it with somebody,
Okay.
mama here, or she would just say, this is so
Uh,
and so, someone of our ancestors that may not be here in the 3D with us. So,
but even with that, I struggle. So like I get talking and I get all of that stuff, but sometimes I wonder about how we try to, I'm always like thinking about how we try to hold people to the same energy vibration once they are no longer in their bodies.
mm-hmm.
To me, it seems like, oh yeah. To me, it seems like um, that's that spirit kind of moves on or takes on some different dimension, some different awareness. But let me say this. There was a guy who just died who, I'm assuming that he had COVID, but we went out on some dates. This was a long time ago. I mean, so we went out on some dates, and you know when he passed, it came up for me, how we're doing this work, how much he offended me, you know um and how they talk about when people pass, they go through these life reviews, and it's often my thought, like, wow, I wonder if stuff like that comes up in a life review, and then how that's processed through. And so what I recognized is that was something else I needed to forgive and release, because sometimes, and I told him, I basically kicked him out, because he was such an arrogant ass,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um and at some point I did just was like, yeah, I can't, I don't normally get that from people. I don't i don't elicit that kind of stuff from people, but it's kind of like my brother was very unconscious about his arrogance.
Mm-hmm.
He thought and you know, and this is good that we're doing the anatomy of the spirit, um because it was such a part of his way of relating to people that I don't think he recognized how offensive it could be when you're at the other end of that. And in order to change that paradigm, I think that there is a certain acknowledgement that you have to make, that this is where you're deriving some of your, what you think is esteem. You know, I used to always tell people, everybody has to have something that they hang their hat on, you know, to say that they are worthy or that they got something. You know, everybody needs something. But when your hat that you're hanging on is what you think you have so much above
others, what the one up concept. Yeah.
And so so I'm very conscious, you know how they say people will forget a whole bunch of stuff, but how they make you feel is not something that they. And so, you know, when this guy passed, I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, that you know, that sucker was, you know, and then you want to say to people, I say it sometimes, you came to me. I'm not after you. You came to me, and you gonna sit here and be all, you know, uppity on me. Oh my gosh. Anyways, scratch all of that.
No, dry erase board.
You know, it's funny because when, you know, sometimes it takes so long for, and this is why we had this conversation, because sometimes when I hit this thing of saying go live, sometimes it literally takes us 10 minutes for this thing to actually connect to the browser and then connect to this, and so it doesn't, we don't always get that thing that says that you're live. Did you see the thing that says you're live?
No.
My screen doesn't say I'm live either, but
it says live now. But when I came on this morning, it said recording. And I'm like, recording to what?
Yeah. See,
but when I checked on Facebook, that it's not there. That part in the morning where it's saying recording, and I'm sitting here doing whatever, it's not on the what presents. Thank goodness. I mean, but
okay.
Live is live.
Wait a minute. I just scrolled down on my timeline and Gretchen is like, you are live. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. That is hilarious. That is hilarious, y'all. So all right, so good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
So, Father, Mother, God, we give thanks for this space. We give thanks for this time. We give thanks for the words spoken here, knowing that they are filled with your light, love, and wisdom to the highest. Yes. And so we just welcome everybody into this space. And know that we're doing some divine work here. So welcome. Yes. Good morning, everybody.
And that's exciting.
Yes.
That's exciting. That's exciting. Yeah. So listen to this. I don't know where I got it from, but it came to me yesterday. I heard it from somewhere. And if you said it, then please forgive me, but it has stuck with me all last night and this morning. Okay. That the pain will leave once it has finished its teaching. Once it's finished teaching you, the pain will leave. I was looking for something regarding forgiveness.
Is it that the pain will leave once it finishes teaching, or once you finish your learning?
Well, teaching you. So however you get that.
Because sometimes just because we being taught doesn't mean we learning, does it?
Right. But then you're not being taught yet, because when the student is ready.
When the student is ready, the teacher will.
The student is ready. The message is still the same.
But
but am I going to get it so that I can move on from that pain? Like, can I get it? How do I relieve myself from the pain? Well, I need to get the lesson that the pain came to bring me and
yeah,
keep it moving.
does it seem dark in my room to you? Why is it? Wait a
Different from, yeah, a
yeah,
little.
wait a minute. Is that
There
better?
you go.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Okay, my backlight.
Hmm.
Okay, so and then the funny thing is for some reason, so before when I was doing my exercise right before I got on here, I was coming on here with my t-shirt and on everything on. And so now that I've switched my workout to the 4:30 hour and I'm coming forward, I got this thing where, oh, let me get dressed. Let me I have on shoes.
Oh wow. Yeah, you done took it a step, whole another step
Well,
above. I still
I
got on
put
workout pants.
for some reason I like to have my have something on my feet too when I'm doing this. It makes me feel better. So anyway, y'all got me. Okay, so yeah, the thing about that is that the pain will disappear
The
once
pain will leave once you have finished teaching. Once it has finished teaching you.
mm, ah
So you
so
can get it, you get be pain free now or
So I guess I'm just questioning that because just because we're being taught doesn't mean that we're actually learning. So, you know how we say that the lesson will repeat until
yeah.
you get it? And so I know that these things reoccur
Mhm.
when we are not getting it. And some of us in Italy, we used to say, dura testa, we have hard heads. And just because life is showing us something doesn't mean that we get it, that we embrace it, that all of that stuff.
Mhm.
So I will tell you that something that I read yesterday morning to on here has really stuck with me. And so I kind of want to circle back to that too, because, when we talk about healing and healing our issues, this is something that, for me, I recognize, oh, not only are there lessons that we have to learn, but once you know better, you're expected to do better.
Mhm.
Don't do better, then that means that the it gets more intense, and that's how we develop these diseases. That's what cancer looks like, is the better, you're required to do better. So all right, let's up this a notch, let's keep upping this until you get it. So
Mhm.
like in I know this is your lane, it's not necessarily mine, but in psychotherapy it would seem like first people would have a mood, like they have some kind of mood, and then that mood turns into what do you call it? A disposition, or
Before it becomes a personality.
yeah. So there's steps along the way that, in like, so it seems like you up the game every time by your level of doubling down in your psychosis or whatever that may be. um and then you forget that I didn't always, sometimes I do that to myself. I wasn't always like this, you know
Mhm.
I
It's
remember.
true.
Yeah, I remember one time when I was sitting up there worrying about what I looked like and whether or not I was appropriate. And I was like, this ain't me. It was not me. I am one that, how I am. This is me. This is me. I am not a goody two shoe girl. And so when I started acting like goody two shoe girl, because I thought that that was what I had to be in order to be Reverend Sandra or
Oh wow. Yeah. I mean,
in order for people, I thought I had to be goody two shoe. And so I started going through this stuff. And then I was like, oh, who is she? I don't even like her. I didn't even like me at that time. So I had to figure out how to get all of that gunk out of me.
yeah. But I think that we all, well, I'm gonna be presumptuous, but from the work, I feel like the journey is one end of the pendulum to the next, and then it's just when we get right here, and because I think when we resist the other side is because there's things in the other side that will benefit us, and we just got to experience it so we can take what is supposed to be ours and then bring it to the middle. So finding that happy balance is I think that that's a part of the life journey because we do. I mean, well, if you self reflect, you will go from one side. Most people that I know go from one side of the pendulum to the next, and then they find the happy medium in the middle, and they get, from the yucky experiences, they get what they're supposed to get and get on out of there,
Mm,
from both sides, and then they have this makeup because remember that the whole goal of this journey is remembering
mhm.
who we are, like who am I, who the soul, being more connected to the soul self than the me self.
You know, I don't like to tell people's business. So let me see if I can find somebody else to talk about. Um, so there was you ever see couples that get married, and when they get married, everything is all wonderful and hunky-dory, and then they have kids, and then all of a sudden they try to become straight-laced, and then normally the woman, she gets sanctified, and then she starts looking at her husband like he won't go to church and he's ungodly and he's this and he's that. And it just seems like it creates these big,
Yeah, it does. Barriers, yeah, to connection.
yeah,
Yeah. You're gonna go and change on me. Like,
yeah, but some people would call that growing up. I don't necessarily,
yeah, I don't know about that. I
I
don't
don't
have enough, I don't have enough content to comment, but I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, yeah, yeah, it's important that people grow not at the same rate, but
mm,
you got to be able to be aware, or be graceful to say, all right, you're not there, but I don't know, but I know that dynamic that you're speaking of happens over and over and over and over again, and yeah, so
yeah.
it's a thing. It happens.
But here's the curious thing too, because like as even as I listen to Rhonda, and she's not quite at the 50 mark as far as age is concerned, but I think at a certain point there is kind of like, I'll use this example, like hair has a snapback quality to it. Like we may put all kind of stuff in there and do all kind of stuff to it, right? Whether we put in relaxer or color or something in our hair, it snaps back eventually to what it naturally does. It's going to be what
If
it is.
left alone.
Yes.
Hmm.
And so I assume that the same thing happens, that when we get a certain age, we just feel like, all right, drop all of this pretense, drop all of this madness. This is me.
Here I is.
And you figure out all of that stuff, all that extra doesn't even matter.
Mhm.
So, um, so yeah, this for me is a wonderful reawakening um to us getting to the point where we understand that um I guess, so we understand that it's a process, right? And that all of us go through it.
Mhm.
So it would be nice. We want to save people some time by,
That's always my goal.
Yeah. But I remember, I don't know why I remember this, but I remember when one time I was having something with my mother, and I'm sitting at the table and I'm snot-nosed crying. And I'm just boohooing. And I remember me saying to her, I thought you told me experience was the best teacher. Would you please just let me experience this for myself? And she gave me this look like, yeah, whatever. Okay. A hard head makes a soft behind kind of thing. Because life is going to whoop yo, right? Yeah. So Erica says people should be equally yoked for the acceptance of change. One can't be a sponge and the other a rock.
Hmm.
And but do we know that? I mean, sometimes, especially when we first start out, our hormones are talking to us. It's saying, "Hello, is it me you're looking for?" See, I told you I'm always singing.
But it's true though. It is
Yeah,
very true.
yeah.
And my family systems is my thing. And I believe that when we have these hello, is it me you're looking for moments, are us healing and joining together to heal certain things, aspects of our lives. And if both people come into the connection with that awareness, it can be magical. But when both people don't understand that we are connected to heal some stuff and then be on the journey together to discover what is that stuff, and the God in me is constantly bowing to the God in you, even in this craziness, um you know that doesn't happen, and people don't come into connection with that understanding anymore. But it's why I can only speak. I did this twice when it comes to marriage. And when I look back, I was healing a lot of stuff.
Mm.
I was a magnet for the people that I connected to, and it wasn't because of anything other than the fact that I wanted to heal some stuff. I wanted to work on some stuff. I wanted to be connected. So is there an unevenly yoked? I don't know. If you coming into it with the understanding that this person showed up on my journey in this way where I'm feeling this connected, this pull towards them because I want to heal. I need to heal something. But a lot of people avoid that. That's why you have personalities like avoidant personalities, because people don't, then first, they're not aware. And then secondly, it costs you to heal.
Yeah, yeah. Erica says you gotta get past the honeymoon phase, but I don't know that sometimes we don't, because I think we see what we want to see. You know, I have, yeah, sometimes we're looking for a piece of ourselves or a piece of the puzzle that we don't have. So we reach out to somebody else and call it healing or whatever. We reach out to somebody else and we are assuming that they are not only filling that piece, that void that we have, but okay with it.
Yeah. No, I mean, that doesn't always have to be the case, but yeah. I mean, they're teachers. Everybody's a teacher for us.
We are
And if you
always,
understand that, then you get to negotiate what capacity this person, the role that they play. If they're going to be your husband, wife, lover, or just a friend that can teach me what they need to teach me.
so Erica can be so snarky sometimes, right? I'm gonna say it that way. She put in here, she said, I see a therapist for healing, as if the healing ain't going on everywhere. you know?
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah, I don't know what that information means. I, You see how two people can see some information so different? Because for me, I'm just like, okay, okay. I mean, tell me more about that. Like,
I know it's good. It's good. I mean, because the funny thing about it is,
oh, she's saying, I'm sorry, Sandra, because I apologize. So she's saying that I don't need to have a connection for healing. I see a therapist for healing.
I guess so. She says she's adding comedy and entertainment. You are, dear. You
Right. You making us a reality show.
you Oh, that is what she said, right? We're a reality show. Somebody else said in the comments one day, it's like sitting at a kitchen table with some girlfriends, right?
Oh yeah.
And so, I get it. Now, I wish I had, like, I could do girlfriend at the kitchen table every day. And if I get to remember, were you on the call when I said that I was going to, for retirement, get like a big old house, big old villa,
Yes, yes.
and then that's when the whole
Golden girl conversation.
everybody retire together and we meet at the kitchen table for conversation, and nice to have a, like, Grace and Frankie, nice to
Oh,
have
I love that. Yeah.
property.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
Mhm.
be beautiful. Could you see that? It's like,
Yes. I could do that because I love getting girls together. I do. That's my thing.
yeah,
Love it. Love
yeah.
it.
And you know what? And I will say that, growing up, people used to be like, have these ideas about women, like they didn't like women and they didn't have one. And it's like, man, what are you missing out on by taking that kind of judgmental thing, thinking that, somehow I'm not just as wonderful as you.
Well, if I don't think I'm wonderful,
Okay, well, yeah, if you don't think you're wonderful, that's a problem, right?
yeah, because I'm saying that a lot of people's like, no, I resist. I'm gonna resist that because I'm
Mhm.
resisting that in me.
Ah,
So
good.
they resist. They resist. Not everybody. I don't profess to know everything about everyone,
Mhm.
but the I just find collaborating with women. I mean, I'm collaborating with anyone is enjoyable. But my journey has been a lot with women and crises or no crises, and it is so rich to engage with
Yeah.
the ideas and the passion that we get to demonstrate and freely have when we are with each other. Those of us who are not restricted in our selfness,
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
know, is so good.
it really is. It really is. Yeah. So, all right. So listen, I want to read something because we are not any but because I want to read it. Some of this stuff, especially some of this stuff is so wonderful. Um and sometimes I feel some kind of way because I am not only do am I not a talker. I don't normally use notes and all that stuff when I talk, but of course people know that about me. And so I've also got, because I see people who go out and give talks and speeches and then they stand up there on the thing and read what they wrote. It's like, why don't you just, whatever, just look when you're talking. So I have thoughts about those things, but I want to read this because um I think it's important for us to put into context the ideas around health and esteem and all of that stuff. Do you have your book today?
I got it right here.
I'm on page 44. And
Oh,
so,
I was hoping we would get into
yeah,
leave the intro. Thank you.
yeah, yes, on page 44.
Oh, I can go back and
And
read stuff.
and
Go ahead.
And you can tell me how you feel about reading and whether or not this is something that you like to do. I don't care that if people whatever they think about me. You are a talker. Don't mislead the audience. What you mean?
Is that Erica?
Yeah.
Read the book, Stan.
Okay, so this is Carolyn talking to her sidekick or her collaborator Norm, who is also a doctor, or yeah, he's a doctor. So I so I'm starting halfway into the story. Norm had called and asked her about an impression on a patient he had, and he wanted to start some different therapies on her because she presented with depression, chronic pain in her neck and in her lower back. And he wanted to do some electromagnetic therapy on her. And she was like, absolutely not. She doesn't have enough power in her system to benefit from those devices. And so she started saying that she didn't even realize that that kind of language was something that she was going to use in reference to this. I think that I started talking about power and energy after reading her books, these books, Carolyn Mrs. books. And so, when she says that she didn't realize that until she started talking, I also know that to be true, because one of the things that I tell people all the time is there is a gift that comes along with the commitment you make.
I like that.
Yeah. So as long as I was resisting becoming a minister, there was only so much insight that I was getting. But when I said yes to the role and to the responsibility, all of a sudden I started getting a new download. It's kind of like going from being a presidential candidate into actually being the president, right?
Yeah.
You now all of a sudden you getting all the, when you get elected, you get all the briefings, you get all the downloads. Now all of the stuff comes. And so the same is true when you take on you step into a particular role. You then get a different level of information. So here's where I'm going to start this. I explained to Norm that this woman's attitude has caused her to lose power in her life. She felt inadequate, I said, and was always looking for approval and had a tremendous fear of being alone. Her self-esteem was based only on her ability to control others, primarily her children. Woo. Now, how many people do we know with control issues, right?
It's funny because I got that highlighted in my book.
Oh, do you? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Her fears and inadequacies were like a black hole, magnetically drawing everyone, particularly her children, toward it, only to crush them eventually. She continually criticized her children in an attempt to keep them dependent upon her. Now, this stuff is not conscious, right? But in order to keep them dependent upon her, since weak children find it difficult to leave the nest. So I'm saying that this is not conscious when she's doing it. And when we do it to others, like in the midst of a relationship, it's not conscious either.
Right.
And so what I recognized about that guy is that he was trying to put me into a subservient role so that I can look at him like he was going to be my freaking savior. And he was not, because I didn't need saving, right? So sometimes people come in riding on their white horse, not even recognizing that they riding on a white horse until you be like looking at them like, dude, really? I got a couple horses too. Okay. Let me see. She found flaws in their every accomplishment, whether scholastic or sports related, because she could not risk empowering them with emotional support.
Yeah.
Oh, how often do we do that with people in our lives,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah. That's why I say what I say about connections and why people show up in our lives. Because from this experience, I'll speak for her kids' experience. Now they are on this journey. There's this hole that creates a sensational appetite for approval and acceptance. And when you come from a place of consistent criticism, before you understand that that's what you're looking for, you attach yourself to more people that affirm the criticism and the judgments from which your family of origin from which you come from. And so you continue to connect with these type of, because that's where your energy is, until
Right,
you realize that no, I don't, I don't need to get your approval. I got to approve of me.
but
And then you start attracting people who approve of you. But in the beginning, you attract
right,
what you
right.
know.
But here's what I also find interesting about that is that when you are used to being criticized, even when people are affirming you and
Can't
complimenting
receive
you,
it.
you can't even, yeah, you can't
Yes,
take that in because there is such a black hole that has been there.
yes.
And so
And you have to do the work for that. It can happen. You can change it around, but it's a deep hole.
now, so now I tell people often that I am not one who, and I'm always telling my business, y'all. I think that the reason why I have experiences is so that I can share them, right? And so I don't have, you may be judging me or thinking about whatever, but it doesn't diminish me at all. So think what you want to. Um, so I know for me, when I don't take feedback from people well at all. As a matter of fact, most of the time when people tell me, "Oh, San, you did a good job," I sit there wonder why they tell me that, right? Because here's what I know. I think that people say things because they think they're supposed to say them. Like, you think you're supposed to give me feedback. And for me, it's like, I'm not doing this for you or for what you think about me. I'm doing this because there is a urge in me, a strong desire to express, to talk, to share, to be about that forward focus. That, so I can't resist that push in me. So the feedback is, doesn't necessarily make me do more, and now at this point it ain't gonna make me do any less. All you got to do is, if you don't like it, I'd be like, whatever, bye, boy, bye.
Mm-hmm.
you
But
know
the challenge for you is to receive it, though. It
yeah,
sounds like.
it but I never really, so most of the time I don't know that I do. I sit there thinking to myself like, So even when people like stuff or give it a thumbs up, I just like, yeah, it's just like, because I just wonder about what's behind it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, is this a person's need to do that? Because sometimes it just strikes me as disingenuous.
Hmm.
Is that weird? Are you trying to like, let me tell you what's wrong with you now?
I need my pipe. Carl Whitaker is kicking in now. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
So anyway, but that's how I have been, and it makes it really difficult sometimes because I go out and part of what I was doing
Yes.
is I go up in front of audiences all the
Yeah.
time, and I present, and people inevitably want to come to you and talk to you after the fact.
Yes.
So they always feel like they have to give you some feedback. It's like, I don't need that. I don't need the feedback.
So the second agreement in the 4 agreements is not to take it personal.
Okay.
I have a very dear friend that will remind me that my experience is for me.
Okay.
So if I say, I appreciate you so much, this was so amazing, even though I'm saying it to them, they understand that I'm saying it for me.
Right. 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 So and here's the funny thing is so when I was on the radio back in the day, there was this lady who came up to a church that I was speaking at. And forgive, I don't know her name. I don't remember it. It wasn't neither here or there. But she came up and she waited until after most of the people had left. And then she came over to me and she started boohooing, crying and telling me about how much I had helped her. And I'm standing there trying to be really compassionate about where she was coming from. And I remember saying to her, and I probably offended her, I said to her, I said, you know what? I said, you are really just eavesdropping on a conversation I'm having with myself. I'm glad it helped you.
Mm-hmm.
And I left it at that. And I recognized that that wasn't very compassionate.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably freaking rude. But
Why you say? I think that it created a sense of collaboration. And it was like I'm letting you in on a conversation. Now I don't know what tone you said it in. If you could take the lady's hand and rub the back of her hand, but it was the truth.
yeah, yeah,
And I think that, to me, that would create some type of kinship with us. Like, if it impacts you like that, then you got it.
okay, okay. So yeah, it would, I just felt like it would have been nice if I could have really, because she was, she was one of those crying, just trying to tell me all of this stuff about what, and I was like, geez, I'm really just talking to myself all the time. But I say that all the time anyway. So it may show up looking like Stephanie, but really Stephanie is Sandra. You and I are one, right? Me and
Exactly.
are one. All of us, me and Gretchen.
Exactly. Right. And it's just where we are on our journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I just
that creates the tears and stuff.
yeah.
It's like where I'm at in my journey, because maybe 6 years from now she can hear that same experience and has had that same experience or hear that same message, and it's like, yes, as opposed to wailing up on the inside of her and needing to come out.
Right.
It needed to come up and out. Could have healed it. You could have been healing a disease.
Right. And so one of the things that I guess for me is that if I keep sharing, if I keep showing up and being transparent, then it'll show other people the benefit that comes. Because my conversation with Erica was just, when we did that interview, I thought it was so illuminating and enlightening, and I would just wanted everybody to also hear it. Mm-hmm. Because she came from a real place, right? Mm-hmm. A real authentic place, and just kind of said, okay, here's my take on it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I think that when people show up in their fullness, right? Enlightened people, right? When people show up in their fullness and in their truth, just like you do, it just, it's like, whoa, the light comes on. And then you realize that the stuff that you're dealing with is not foreign. Okay,
we got 10 minutes.
I don't even know where I left off at.
Because controlling others requires a tremendous investment of energy, and because she never actually felt in control, she was continuously exhausted.
Right. And her chronic pain was also a result of her inability to control others. Oh. By the time she arrived at Norm's office, she looked defeated. Mm-hmm. This woman could not cope with the inevitability of her children leaving home. Yet she denied she acted in anything but her children's best interest. Ooh, isn't that what people always say?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, in her own view, she was a supportive mother because she provided her children with a clean house, healthy food, and decent clothing. Yet she systematically strove to undermine their emotional development, a fact that she could not admit.
Mm.
Since conventional medical treatments had not helped her, Norm was considering an alternative approach that included psychotherapy, cranial stimulation through an electrical device, and color and light therapy. If she had used these techniques, I realized she might have benefited for a week or maybe a month, but she would not heal completely until she gave up her pathological
And
struggle
that's it.
for control.
Our pathology. It is the truth
Right.
of it all.
And so what happens when somebody tells you that the stuff that's developing within you is a result of what you thought was some of your best traits, right? Or what you think you're doing really well. Now all of a sudden it causes you to have to change.
Well, but when you start to see it as fear and not love, that's when you get to do the work. That's the psychotherapy portion. It's like you get to say, well, is this behavior fear or is this behavior love? And using that as a dynamic, and then helping people understand. I mean, like, the book by Marianne Williamson, the Eric Fromm books, like just understanding what love is, renegotiating what love is, because this woman had an understanding of what love is, and that was to be dutiful. And it could have been polar opposite of what she experienced as a child from her family of origin. So she made a declaration, because that's where disease comes from too, declaring, I'm not going to be like my mama, I'm not going to be like my daddy, I'm not going to be like so and so. And so then we work hard to avoid that pathology which is in us. And so we take on a different one, and you become this, overbearing, I'm being exaggerative to this message, but overbearing mom that makes sure everything is such and such and done in such a way, not realizing that my fear is losing my kids, or that my
Right.
kids leave probably like I left my family of origin. I don't want them to go. And so you start this whole cycle of work that needs to be done. And people get pills and for depression and anxiety, when the reality is that you got to go back to the beginning and just flush some stuff out. And it works just like that when you start doing that Carolyn Miss, I am in complete agreement that once you surrender.
Yeah. So you know what? I'll never forget my brother, Kevin, said to me one time, we were talking about, I don't know how he, his son, Kevin Jr., Lil Kev, we call him. We were talking about something, and, Kevin sometimes, he used to be really quiet. But he said to me, he was like, I'm not raising a boy. He says, I'm raising a man.
Mm-hmm.
And a man has to be able to. And basically what he was trying to say to me is he needs to be able to stand on his own 2 feet. And a lot of times what people do is instead of trying to raise somebody for the adult, purposefully, because my parents were always really conscious about the purpose for which they were raising us. I mean, it was, when you talk about grooming, I mean, it didn't matter who was around. They would correct our verbiage, our tense. We couldn't just say is you or whatever. I mean, it was always corrective, sit up straight, chew with your mouth closed. Did you speak when you in? It was always everything, every day. As a matter of fact, I don't think they gave it up until, as long as they were our parents. It's like, yes, I did that. Yes, you don't have to keep asking me every time. I did it. Now, I know that there are a lot of people who were not raised with that constant, that constant grooming, as I call it. So when you see it, or when it's absent, you know it, and when it's there, you also see it. And so when I see parents who are sitting up, talking about, with grown ass people in their house, grown men, and still sitting there like they don't see the issue or the problem with that, is that if you never made them stand on their own 2 feet, why should they? We cripple people, and we don't recognize that we're crippling them. When we try to do their work for them, yes, we cripple them.
Yes.
And we don't even see it. Sometimes you got to stand back, and like I was trying to tell my mother, you said experience is the best teacher. Let me do my own falls.
Yeah.
Let me fall. And if I fall, that's what I tell my girlfriends all the time. I am the girlfriend who will encourage you all the day long. Girl, go do what you do. And knowing that I need to buy a box of tissue, because when on the other side of this, I'm gonna also be the shoulder that you're crying on, right? But live right now, do what you're doing, but I will be there when it's over, because I know, like I could tell you already, like, ooh, that's gonna be something. That's gonna be a booger bear. But girl, go enjoy it while you can. I'm that friend. I'm that friend. I'm not gonna sit there trying to tell you, oh, don't do that, girl. He gonna break your heart. Girl, go for it. Live. You only live this life, right? Anyway, let me finish this up so we can I'm not gonna finish this section. We're gonna have to come back to this section tomorrow. But that afternoon, I'm going on with the book. That afternoon, I saw that for an alternative therapy to exceed, the patient must have an internal concept of power, an ability to generate internal energy and emotional resources, such as a belief in his or her self-sufficiency. This woman had only an external concept of power, which she drew from an external source, her children. Now, in Sacred Contracts, which is also a book by Carolyn Myss, she talks about energy vampires.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, that came in Celestine Prophecy too, didn't it?
Yes.
So many places that you get energy vampires, people who will suck.
We can just stop right there.
This is so good. So I don't even know what y'all gonna do with this today.
I hope you just can feel the energy of pay attention.
Yes, that all of this stuff matters.
Yes.
It matters. There are no small choices, and all of this stuff resonates. And don't get me wrong, because I will say, I'll be the first one to tell you, we do not get out of this life alive, right?
No.
We are all going to go. And this body suit will dissipate, or it'll die, it'll do what it does. So you don't get out of this alive. But if you think about this, I don't know, Stephanie, how do you think about it in terms of my soul's evolution? What am I here to learn? What is it that I'm supposed to get in this lifetime? And let me get that.
Yeah. And for me, my journey is that I teach that which I most need to learn. And so for a long time, I didn't want to learn nothing. I didn't want to teach anything. I stopped teaching. I was teaching for a long time. And then
Mhm.
around 2010, I just was like, I just stopped teaching because of whatever my legalistic mindset was that I had to be perfect in order to present. And so once I got over not needing to be perfect to present and allowed all of the flaws to be my reason why, and the help that I could offer to somebody, is when I gradually started feeling more internal power. Because before it, when I was going through that, I am not worthy to share this journey that I've been on. It was, I needed the outside because it was just like, this just looks disgusting. Like, yeah.
I'm so excited that you're not there anymore.
Yeah. So then it's just like, okay, all right, I can stand up again and share the story. But yeah, so it's, this is real, and I feel like everybody has their journey of evolution and evolving, because the soul came here to be God itself. And
Mm,
when that information is cut off from the umbilical cord and we are no longer connected to the source, then we're counting on external people. That's why we get addicted to external. We're counting on the external to remind us. But if they nobody taught them,
mm.
they're at a deficit too. And then you go
Yeah.
generations and generations and generations of this deficit that the story changes. You know how rumors go,
Yeah.
and it weakens, it gets less powerful, and if something comes along, there's a Jesus that shows up and says, hey, I gotta tell you something. You might have this all wrong. Right.
Yes, and hopefully we can hear it in that way,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times what we see people do is they double down in their psychosis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like okay, maybe I wasn't holy enough before, let me get even holier, let me cut off the very people in my life that love me because they're not in the category that I'm in, they not going where I'm going, they don't have the vision that I have, and so they start getting preachy about that, and it's like they got to leave all of these other people behind. And it just amazes me that, it's like, I don't know that that's how Jesus was operating.
That is the first go-to. That's one of the things that you look for when you're doing, when you're in family therapy. You look for people who have tried results, and then they've tried results. So now I'm not only grounding you for the day, I'm gonna ground you for a weekend. Now I'm gonna ground you for a month. Little Johnny hasn't changed. You might want to try something new.
Right, right.
But we do that. We just keep adding more to the experience, thinking that somehow or another, I call it shame to change. You think you're gonna shame me enough to change me. And the reality is that if you speak life, change will come.
Mm, okay. Yeah.
That's what this is. This is life. This what we're doing here is speaking life.
Yes, 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 yes. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that we're on this journey, and if it is for you, you know it.
Right.
And sometimes people will come to a full stop.
Yep.
Right? Because
Yes.
it, yeah, sometimes, because this is not, even for me, I will say this is really causing me to reevaluate choices that I've made,
Mm-hmm.
reevaluate a whole lot of stuff that is going on in my own life. And I pray for the courage to be able to make the changes that I need to make so that I can continue on my journey. And sometimes, one of the things that this says in here is when you know better, you do better. Like,
Yeah.
the lessons come that much faster because you're expected to already be up to speed, especially when you're teaching this stuff. And so yeah, this comes, and it is doubly significant for me, right? Because I've been through this material a few times. I know better. As a matter of fact, this has been part of, this has changed me in a way, because it changes the way you look at the world.
Mm-hmm.
When you start talking about energy dynamics, what am I putting out there?
Yes.
And what am I taking back? And is this enlivening me, or is it diminishing me? You start to look at your life differently,
I
right?
say this really quick. I know we ran out of time, but this is just so pressing. So my uncle, who is a year younger than me, so we grew up as siblings. My mother was a very young mother. So he and I grew up as siblings. So I just want to tell you how close we were. He was murdered in 2009, June 1st. And I had started this changing my mind about who I am and God, and that whole my whole relationship with God had started making a shift. And so I wasn't praying to a God outside of myself. But this was trauma. And all I knew was where I came from. And I remember crying, saying, what do I do now? If I can't go to you and beseech you, da 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 da, what do I do? How do I handle? What do I do different? And then I just became quiet. I just became quiet. And what came to me is that he did not, nobody took his life. He gave it. He surrendered to the process. And I wouldn't have gotten that from the God that I prayed for before. I would have stayed in this space where I was waiting for an answer, and I wanted to try to make this make sense. And I was looking for answers, and it was just understanding that the answer is in me, quiet, like, hush, little baby.
Right,
Just
right,
hush. I'll give you some information. But the switch to a God that's external as opposed to a God that's internal can sometimes feel like you walking on water. Like you're like, what do I do now? Because I know that there is not this external force coming to my rescue, but that there is an information system in me that has if it needs to be made sense of, because sometimes you just can't make sense of crazy. It doesn't make sense.
right.
But there was a peace that came over me. And so then even when we went through the trial and the young man who murdered him was up for trial, I wept like a baby because that was somebody's child that was going to go to prison probably for the rest of his life. And I just cried so hard in that courtroom for him and his mother and his father. My whole paradigm just had shifted
Right, right.
when I realized that we're one.
Yes, yes. And and it's amazing, because some people never get that that there is no separation, that we are all connected.
Everybody on assignment.
Right. And so some people are so caught up, like we started out the hour talking about that guy who was, trying to look down on me for
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um he and I were one too, and he didn't know it. That was, and so,
Yes.
his loss, that person's loss. But it doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
Um, so and so I know what you how you say it, and that is so true. I remember when I got that message, just a little different, um not quite like losing an uncle. I'm so sorry that happened, but I recognize too as part of the process.
Yes.
But one day I had a German Shepherd back in the day, and my dog, that German Shepherd chased everything. And I would tell it all the time, if it doesn't run, don't chase it. I got tired of washing that skunk stuff off of him, and
Mm-hmm.
and skunk smell doesn't go away, because when it rains, it just kind of comes back. Anyway, one day I was trying to go to work, or trying to go someplace. I was running late, and I go out the door and I call him to come in, and he's in the garage chasing after something. And I call him again, and he's like not coming, and so, which is not like him, because he's usually like Johnny on the spot. So finally he comes running in the house, and because I'm using a different tone of voice. He comes running in the house. I go outside, I threw my stuff on the front seat, and I start the car all in one fell swoop. And as I backed up, my car goes like this, boom. And I'm thinking, what the hell? And I look up over the dashboard and I see a cat twitching on the ground. And I lost it. I started screaming to the top of my lungs. I was so upset. I can't even tell you, just because I was hysterical at that point. And my brother was actually living downstairs. My youngest brother, he was actually living downstairs. He comes running out the house, and he actually had to grab me because I was just that upset. He had to grab me and kind of like saying it's okay. And I'm just, I'm like, oh my God. So he was like, I'll clean this up. Go ahead and go. I got it. Right. So even as I'm turning the corner, I'm still crying. And all of a sudden I hear this voice that's not in my head. It's over there. It said to me, don't wax yourself. It said, you can neither take life nor give.
Right.
That's on me. And it just made me stop and was like, first off, you like, the first immediate thing is, where'd that come from? And the next thing is it because it rang true. Don't ask stupid questions.
Yeah, there's this piece that just like, oh, okay.
Right.
I don't know who I can tell this to, but I get it.
Well, I could cry if I want to. I can be upset if I want to. But it basically told me that I am, and that's when I got that for everything that happens, there has to be a way to facilitate it happening.
Right. It's just so simple as that. Like,
but it's hard to take because we want to be, we've
been programmed to believe that. Yeah.
Being a victim or, being, having a victimizer. We got that kind of dynamic going on. So we need to blame somebody for it. But it's, some people won't even be able to receive that, but that's okay. It's okay.
It is. And the student is ready.
And when it's ripe, when the fruit is ripe, then right.
Yeah, that was good.
Jesus would say, he who hath an ear,
let him hear.
We don't all hear at the same time. So
yes,
I thank you so much.
Yes, this was amazing. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Yeah, this was a big breakfast.
Yes, thank you. You look so wonderful today.
But thanks. I gotta work in an hour.
Yeah, well, it's nice having you. When you weren't like, because sometimes you turn and you look so.
Oh my goodness, I can't stand it. I'm like, okay, I need release. I got to get released from this. I love this. I'm so grateful. So
I appreciate.
Life is gonna afford me.
Yes, Jessica, we love you.
Jessica.
Yes. I talked to her for a hot second yesterday.
Did you?
And so we're just sending good vibes and good to you, and just saying that we miss you. So I thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Here, Erica, Gretchen, everybody,
everybody. Thanks. Share the love.
Yes. All right. So just go ahead, be a blessing.
All right.
All right. Go in peace.
All right. Good. All right. Have a good day.
Bye. You too. Bye. All right. Let's do this. Are we frozen? All right. There we go.